All right. So we're going to talk about linear word problems and how to interpret. You know, y'all see a word problem and you go, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. So we're going to look at some that are set up to be linear problems and how we set them up and how we solve them based on what we're given. And I think the easiest way to do that is to work through several examples with you, which is why I gave you all the papers I did. But first, if you'll look at this sheet, looks like yours is not pretty and in color like this one is, and I do apologize. But it will still help you to pick out the key words that you need. And I don't know if anybody ever taught you when you were reading through word problems what different words mean to help you interpret. But when we're talking about linear equations, what's wrong? Oh, I forgot to go over those. Is that what you're saying? Oh, that's a different. I forgot to go over the warm-ups. We'll go over them in a minute. All right. A few words to keep in mind, okay? If you look at the Y column here, let me see if I can get my pen going. The Y column. We've talked before about Y being range, the range or the output. When you plug in, it's what you get back. So some keywords here that we think about when we think about word problems. If it's asking you for a total or a total amount, okay? Total cost, revenue, things like that. We're going to specifically be dealing with total cost a lot today. But it's what you get out. When you plug something in, it's what you get back out, okay? Now your slope, which is key here, is your rate of change. And really that's the way they word it in word problems when we're looking at it. Rate of change like miles per hour, cost per minute. What are you laughing at? All right. So I've got the slope formula on here for you. Okay, and this is in the form mx plus b, which is slope-intercept form, because that's always a form we can write the line in, right? Okay. But anyway, we're talking about a rate. If you see the word per, like cost per minute or cost per hour, you know you're talking about a slope. Does that make sense? Rate of change. All right. X is your variable that you're putting into the equation. That's what's changing to give you the output, okay? So if you're talking about cost per minute, what's changing? Come on, guys. But what are you plugging in to find that? The time. So that's your variable, okay? You read? Yeah, it's right there. Time, weight, distance. If you're talking about miles per hour, your miles that you're going, okay, that's your variable, that's your input, that's what you're putting in to find out the Y or the output, the cost. All right, B, this is the one that's a little more difficult. Your Y-intercept. What your Y-intercept does in a word problem whenever we're talking about an initial point, okay, a starting point, an initial cost, maybe you go to, what carrier do y'all use? What cell phone carrier? Verizon, AT&T. Okay, I use Sprint. So let's say you go up to whatever store you use, and we're going to talk about I think your in-class project today, we're going to use Verizon, but it really doesn't matter. They'll charge you a set amount, right? They're going to say, this is how much you pay per month, right? But anything over so many, how's the data measured?
The gigabytes.
Gigabytes, okay. Anything over so many gigabytes, you pay so much per gigabyte that you go over, right? Okay. Don't that initial amount, that very first amount you pay, that's your starting point. You're going to pay that no matter if you don't use it at all that month, you're still going to pay that. Does that make sense? Okay, that's your B. All right. So I want you to kind of get a feel of how we're setting these up. So let's look. Let's look at an example. Get out, I gave you 3 sheets, I think. If you look at, let's look at this one first. The one that says linear word problems. This is linear word problems at the top. Oh, I didn't give you this one? Okay, that's all right. Just follow along with me. Sorry. All right, let's look at it. This cell phone company advertises service for 10 cents per minute. This is back when you paid per minute of talk. Plus a monthly fee of $35. And we want to write an equation. And this time I'm telling you that Y is your cost and X is the number of minutes. Okay? So you can think back to this sheet that I gave you and your keywords and how we're going to set it up. So what is our rate of change? 10 cents. Does everybody agree? See your keyword there, per? It's my rate of change or my slope. So 10 cents times X, because X is the number of minutes that I talk, right? Plus, I need my initial amount, $35, because that's what I'm going to start with. Do you agree that this is my equation to represent my bill for that month? Does that make sense to you? Yeah. If you use 0 minutes, you plug in a 0 here, you're still going to pay $35, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So then I'm asked to graph it, and I want you to think about this for just a minute before I graph it. I'm going to put a graph that looks like this. I'm in the first quadrant. Yes? Okay. I'm in the first quadrant. Do you agree? This is my x-axis. This is my y. Do you agree? Y represents cost, yes? I didn't put this bottom part of the y-axis. Why do you think?
Because you don't need it.
Why?
Because you never have a zero. Or like for the start.
You can't cost negative, right? If y is my cost, past 0 goes negative. They're not going to send you a bill for negative $25 and then send you a check, right? Yeah. No. So, I don't need that part. Same thing with the x. What does x represent? Come on, guys. What did x represent?
The domain input.
But in this particular problem, what did x represent? The number of minutes I talked. Can you talk negative 10 minutes?
No.
No. So I don't need the negative end of that graph. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. All right. So now if you look at this equation, I'm in slope-intercept form, right? I'm going to start with my intercept, which is what? 35. I'm going to go by tens here. 10, 20, 30, 40. Does that confuse anybody?
No.
What's my slope? 10. 10 over 1. So up 10. I don't need to take my line this way because we already talked. It's not going to go negative, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Let's do another one. Do I need to wait a second or y'all got that? Okay. Yeah, but then it's gone for good, so. The spray, if you're using the Active Inspire software, the spray bottle will clear what you wrote, but it's gone for good. If you go to the next page here, girls, I need y'all to put your things flat. All right, let's look at the next one. Rachel belongs to a local gym. She pays $15. Oh, look at that word.
Per.
What does that tell me?
You got the multiple views.
But what does that indicate? Slope. Per indicates rate of change or slope, right? She spends $15 per month in a one-time, oh, look at that, one-time registration fee of $75. 75, so plus 75, absolutely. 75 is my what? B. My B. 15 is my what? Slope or my M, so I get y equals, give me the equation. Good job, guys. Yeah. What paper? We're just running through some examples together real quick. You need what? Xavier, look on the corner of my desk right there, stapled together. There's a few copies of this one up there if you just want a copy. That's fine. All right. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes? All right. Let's switch gears a little bit then. Look at, and I know you have this paper, the better deal paper.
That's what I'm talking about.
Where am I going? Shh. Guys, y'all stay focused with me. All right, here we go. Daily rate. Okay, these are 3 different scenarios we're going to write 3 different equations for, okay? Read through them before we write it. Let's make sure we understand. The first one is just a daily rate. It's going to cost you $25. A day is the same thing as saying per day to visit the fun factory, right? A silver pass costs you $60 for the pass, but it lets you visit the park for only $10 per day, right? And the gold pass costs $120, but it lets you visit the park for only $5 per day. Yes? Okay. So, let's look at the daily rate first. What would my equation look like?
Y equals
25x, we know because 25 is the slope, right? Is there an initial cost associated with that? Nope. So if you want to put a plus 0, you can, but you don't have to. Does that make sense to all of us? Okay. Look at the silver pass. $60 for the pass lets you visit the park for $10 per day. What's your slope? 10. Plus, I do have an initial cost here. It's $60. Is anybody confused on this? Okay. What's the last equation look like?
equals 5x plus 1.
5 is my slope or my rate of change. 120 is my initial amount. It's going to be 120 regardless of how many times I go. Yes? All right. So let's look at your in-class project for today. Huh? It is due at the end of class. As right now, it's due at the end of class. We'll see how we get. But I want to work through several of these with you.
And then this was our homework for tonight, the choosing your cell phone plan app. Verizon.
No, the Verizon is the in-class project. We'll see. Let me announce the homework at the end of class. Let's see how far we get through everything.
Can you go back really quick?
Back to what? That? Record again. All right, so this is your in-class project. I haven't quite, guys, we're going to work with our partners. I haven't quite decided if we're going to count this as a major grade or a double minor. I'm not sure yet, but definitely do your best. No, they're different categories. All right, take a look at your sheet. Understand what we're outlining first, okay? First thing is, if my paper will go. All right, in 2008, and these actually came from the Verizon website. These were their rates in 2008. You had 3 different choices when you went to sign up for a cell phone. Okay, your first choice was you could pay $39.99 a month. You got 450 minutes, but every minute you went over that, you got charged 45 cents per minute.
That is not a lot of minutes.
No. Remember, this was 2008. Notice your keyword per here, right? Okay. Plan option 2 was you started out with 900 minutes, but you had to pay $60 a month and 40 cents a minute every minute you went over. And plan 3 was 1,350 minutes. It was $80 and 30 cents per minute for every minute you went over. Does that make sense? Do you understand the table? No. People aren't on that. Well, now people just text. So now texting is
I
the.
remember like when my sister
I'll
got like a
FaceTime.
flip phone and she only
Yeah.
had like 800. And she
I
was
can
like,
remember
like
that.
2 weeks.
It used to cost me $0.25 for every text I got because texting wasn't big then. Yeah.
And it was like,
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah. It's terrible, isn't it? Okay. So look at question 1 and think this through. If a customer expects to use 500 minutes per month, which plan is the best value? What would the customer's bill be? So here's what you're going to have to do for this one. You are going to have to,
Why do that?
I don't know. It's being, all right. It's okay. You're going to have to find the cost with plan 1, plan 2, and plan 3. Now, think about it a minute. How would you find how much it is if you used 500 minutes? Let's look at plan 1. You're definitely going to pay how much money? $39.99 plus 45 cents per minute for everything over how many? I'm on plan 1. 450. How many minutes did you go over your limit in plan 1? 50 minutes. So how can you tell how much you have to pay? Absolutely. Okay, that's your plan 1. You'll put that in your calculator. I'm not sure exactly what it comes up to. Let's look at plan 2. How much are you paying regardless with plan 2? $59.99. Plus, did you go over your minutes there? Nope.
It comes out to be 62.
And plan 1 comes out to be what?
62.
$62.49. And plan 3, you're paying how much? $79.99. But you don't go over any minutes there either, right? Are y'all following me? Which option's the best if you spend 500 minutes or if you use 500 minutes? Plan 2. So you would do the best monthly bill uses plan what? 2. With a total cost of
$59.99.
$59.99. Does that make sense what you have to do?
Wait, I thought it came with 400.
Sure, it probably won't whenever I do it by myself, but
It came with 450 minutes on plan 1, but you used 500 minutes. So you used 50 minutes too much. You went over. This is your overage charge here. All right? Now, I'm not going to do every one of them with you. So look, now number 2 is asking you for an equation, just like we've been setting up. Your slope times x, well, I say slope, but it's really rate of change, right? Rate of change times x plus your initial cost. Can you do that on those? Want to do the first one?
yeah.
Okay. All right. What's your fixed cost or your initial amount for plan 1? $39.99 plus what's your rate of change? 0.45, and we multiply the rate of change times x. And you can flip that around. It doesn't matter the order that it comes in. So you can do the same thing for plan 2 and plan 3 there, yes? Okay? Let's look at the next one. Here, you're doing the same thing as number 1. The difference is now you've used 600 minutes instead of 500. That's a long. So here you've gone over by 150 minutes, right? Here you've gone over by how many minutes? No minutes over, right? Plan 2 gives you how many minutes? 900. So if you've used 600, then you haven't gone over in Plan 2 or Plan 3, only in Plan 1.
So on this paper, this box right here is for all these problems?
Yep, it's for all of them.
Okay.
All right, let's keep going. Remember, you got to stop me if you don't understand. Okay, which part?
What do you write down for the plan 1, 2, 3?
Okay, for number 3, this is setting up. It's exactly the same as number 1. The difference is if you go up to number 1, you used 500 minutes, right? In number 3, you're using 600 minutes instead of 500. So you used more minutes. So what would your bill be in Plan 1? What would your bill be in Plan 2? And what would your bill be in Plan 3? Just like in number 1. All right, flip over to the back. Same thing again. This time you used 1,000 minutes. All right, number 5. 5 and 6 are the most the most work that you'll have to do in these problems for sure. Because here's what you've got to do. You've got to figure out how much you spent over the course of an entire year for each plan. So, for example, I'm going to have, and you'll probably have to do a separate sheet of paper. For Plan 1, how many minutes do I get with Plan 1? 450. How many months did I go over my limit? 2. Right? All the rest of the time I was within my limit, so I don't have to pay any extra money those months. But these 2 months, I'm going to have to pay some extra money, right? So every single month in Plan 1, I'm going to pay how much money? Regardless, $39.99. So I'm going to go ahead and say times 12. Because for 12 months, I'm definitely going to pay that much money, right? But I also have to say, in addition to that, how many minutes did I go over here? How much? Is it? I don't know. You get 450, you use 628. What do you get when you subtract those two? 178? So June, I got to pay 178 times how many cents per minute? And then December, same thing. How many minutes did I go over? So 189 times 0.45. Jason, what are you doing? I have not seen you look up at the board yet. What are you graphing?
That's my graph from the last time.
All right. Do we see where these numbers are coming from? How much I spent all year. You're going to figure that up, okay? Then you're going to also do the same thing for Plan 2. But remember, Plan 2 lets me go up to how many minutes?
900.
900 minutes. Then I'm going to do the same for Plan 3. And I'm doing a comparison of the 3. Does it make sense? This time yearly instead of for 1 month. Scroll on down.
Oh, I know what Plan 1 was.
And you're doing the same thing in 6, but your minutes have changed, okay? And then you got one application question at the end that you need to answer that compares the plans and what you would recommend based on, so everybody's answer is going to be different for that, okay? Now, the amount of work I showed you is obviously the amount of work I want to see. No less, for sure. So there's a lot of calculations on this little project, okay? But at the end of the day, you're doing the same thing to kind of drill it home what we're doing. It shouldn't take all that long. I've done number 1 with you. If you copied that down while I did it. My charger's over at my desk. I'll get it a second. Let me cut this off because we're done with